Discussion keeps the world turning.
This is Roundtable.
Hainan just pulled the plug on gasoline cars. 2030, no new sales, period. For some, it's a bold leap into a cleaner and brighter future, but also leads to many other questions. What would happen to gasoline car drivers? Would an all-electric future work? And if other regions and provinces in China follow Hainan's lead, how fast could the world's largest car market leave the combustion engine behind? Coming to you live from our studios in Beijing, this is Roundtable. I'm Fei Fei, and for today's program, I'm joined by Steve, Hatherley, and Yushan. First, a gasoline car is the safer choice for many, almost a safety net, even though you could have new energy vehicles in your garage. But what happens when that choice begins to disappear? The province of Hainan has become the first province in China to announce that from 2030, it will stop selling new gasoline-powered cars. For some people, this is a symbol of progress. But for others, it leads to much bigger questions. Would other provinces and regions in China follow suit? What does it actually take to make an all-electric future possible? And also, are we closer to that future? Are we ready for that kind of future? So, Steve and Yushan, hello to you. We're talking about Hainan and a big, massive plan that they just announced. So, let's first talk about the plan, first of all. Why? What kind of details is this ban of sales of new gasoline cars about?
Yeah, all attention is paid on southern China's Hainan province because it is the first province in China to set a clear deadline for ending the sale of new gasoline-powered cars, meaning that in the future, by 2030, Hainan will stop all gasoline car sales, meaning that only EV sales are allowed on that island in the Hainan province. And under its latest 5-year plan, starting in 2030, like we mentioned, newly purchased or replacement private vehicles, as well as public service vehicles like sanitation and passenger transportation vehicles like buses or taxis, and also commercial vehicles, they will all be required to follow suit under this new rule. So this move is part of Hainan's broader goal of becoming a national demonstration zone for ecological civilization. And I think this is a lofty goal to start with.
Yeah.
Because you don't just simply ban one type of car and just allow the other type to thrive in the meantime. This is the first time ever.
First time in the country. Yeah, it's a big deal. It's part of the national demonstration zone or a pilot zone for ecological civilization in the area. And what that is, it's a fancy term, but what it means is it's a high-level national designation for a region, and in this case that's Hainan, that is tasked with pioneering China's green future. So these specific zones, national demonstration zone, they serve as kind of an experimental platform for testing and implementing the country's most ambitious environmental policies and reforms. So it's kind of like a testing ground. So Hainan is already very well known for its green initiatives. Conservation is very important in that part of the country. It is all over the country, but I think particularly in Hainan. So it's kind of the perfect testing ground to see how things go here. So the main goal is to just check it out and see in this go first type of policy whether it can be successful or not. And it's about creating a template for the beautiful China goal as well.
Yeah, and if you're driving a gas car in Hainan right now, don't worry just yet because this is a ban on sales, not for driving. So existing gasoline vehicles can still be on the road after 2030, but the plug-in hybrids and extended range EV will still be available for purchase by then too. It's just on the sales.
Yeah,
Yes.
But there will come a time, right?
Yeah.
It's going to take a while.
Yeah, 10 years later, 20 years later.
After the current gasoline cars got replaced.
Yeah, if you're a person who just bought a gas car this morning, It's probably not the best
Oh, I'm
news.
sorry to hear that, by the
I
way.
would say it's an opportunity to have that last batch of gasoline cars on that island.
You could look at it that way as well, because eventually, we're very far away, I think, but eventually on the island, all the cars are going to be NEVs, right? So a gas-powered car will be in a museum somewhere.
Yeah, and that leads me to my second question, really, is about when Hainan put forward with this goal, with this plan, what was your first reaction on it?
I don't understand. To start with, I was confused. I had no clue, but it kind of makes sense. I understand the part that it makes sense for Hainan, but it's just it still feels kind of arbitrary, if not kind of like brutal for gas car drivers. Because me myself is a gas car driver, so I just automatically feel empathy for those peers in Hainan. But still, I'm going to rant a little bit later. But yeah,
This isn't new. By the
Yeah.
way, it's
Yeah.
not brand new. I mean, Hainan first proposed this goal back in 2018. That's when they said they wanted to ban the sale of fuel cars by 2030. So it's not like they dropped this on them out of it.
So people have a few years of preparation.
They've been familiar with the topic, yeah.
Yeah, and after you said 2018, isn't it, Steve? After 2018, they have launched sort of policies or incentives or different ways to sort of attract people to buy, use more new energy vehicles. And they're also, you know, when it comes to use new energy vehicles, it's not only about drivers. There's something else, infrastructure, roads, recharging stations. A lot of things also need upgrading, isn't it? And so they take these time from 2018 till now to sort of make preparation for that and creating a basically sort of rough image for ordinary drivers about what an all-electric driving map would look like.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
charging infrastructure, you mentioned it. They're going to be expanding that there. And they're going to keep the ratio of vehicle to charging station, what they refer to as charging pile ratio. They're going to keep that below 2.5 to 1. So 2.5 cars per one charging station. And that's pretty much, that's not an unattainable goal either, because that's pretty much in line with the national average.
Yeah, and in the meantime, starting since 2018 to 2019 and all the way until recent years, Hainan has been already pushing out a lot of policies or incentives to encourage the development of local EV industry. For example, there's been a series of supporting policies like purchase subsidies and charging subsidies, like you charge for how many kilowatts of electricity and you get a few thousand yuan of incentive because of the fact that you're charging, things like that. And also there's a trade-in incentive for not only old EV cars in exchange for new EV cars, but also for scooters as well, electronic scooters locally. So you see the ecosystem there has been built ever since as early as 2023 to 2024. All of these incentives are out there. So as though these measures have been rolled out steadily over the past few years, many residents have chosen to switch to EV ahead of schedule. So now I guess it makes sense for local people that this is inevitable.
Yeah, so maybe for a large part of the population on that island, people don't necessarily will feel much of a change when the 2030 goal was, when 2030 was there. And also a very fun fact I don't think a lot of people realize is that gasoline actually costs more in Hainan. It's priced one of the highest in China.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I checked with the price this morning for the gas prices. Hainan is the only region in China has a price over 8 kuai.
So
per liter.
How much? Compare that to Beijing.
Normally around
It's
7. Yeah, below 8.
For 92?
Yeah, for
octane
92.
gasoline.
Yeah, so the normal gasoline for your individual dry cars. So on this note, the driving a gasoline car in Hainan is not very cheap anyway.
And the reason why they're adding that one additional yuan to their gas price is because if you drive on a highway or an expressway in Hainan, you will not be charged. All of those fees, tax, maintenance fee, like we mentioned in previous shows, those were all added in their gasoline tax. So
there's no toll places.
There's no toll places, and there's not even any debate on who should be paying for the maintenance fee, at least in the case of Hainan, because that's just how it works.
Yeah.
I think Hainan is just the perfect place for this type of experiment because of their love of, can I say it like that, green power. This is by the end of 2025. Their installed capacity of new energy power had exceeded 12 million kilowatts, and that number doesn't mean anything, but what it means is that the province is their largest source of electricity is coming from green energy.
Right.
The clean energy in Hainan accounted for almost 88% of what their total installed power capacity is, 73% of its electricity generation. Wind power, solar power, nuclear energy have already pushed past coal-fired power. It's pushed it out of its energy mix. So it's kind of like the province was headed in that direction and has been for a long time. So it seems a little bit like a logical next step to try out this experiment too.
And also Hainan is kind of a special case in China, I think, in some sense, especially when it comes to this green development, green transition. We're seeing a lot of so-called experiments or pilots carried out on this specific island. And I guess, what are the reasons behind, why is Hainan so special when it comes to green transition?
One key reason is it's the fact that it's an island. The geographical feature of Hainan kind of make it suitable for this kind of experiments, especially when it comes to new energy or green energy projects here in China. So, like we mentioned, it's an island with relatively short driving distance, so that make range anxiety much less of an issue for local people.
Yeah, because you're only driving around the island, right? You're not going anywhere else.
In less than 300 kilometers, it kind of covers everything, meaning that most EV owners can complete the journey on one full charge without needing to stop. So that's made convenient. That's designed to be convenient. And in the meantime, the weather is also very friendly for EV because it's constantly warm, even
it's sort
in
of on the
winter.
tropical climate side.
That means less stress on the batteries comparing with far northern China where the winter is harsher and summer is hotter. So, yeah.
Yeah, that island is very far away from us here in Beijing. It's east of Vietnam, right?
Yeah.
So it's a very tropical island. But I just, because it's China, I had it in my mind like, I'll just hop on the high-speed train for 30 minutes. No, it's like a 5-hour flight or something.
Yeah, 4 hours flight.
Yeah,
I think Hainan is kind of the rare provinces and regions in China where in Beijing, if you go from Beijing, would be a little distant to get to because you definitely need to catch on a flight. But also, I think when it comes to Hainan, what makes it really special is it's one of the smallest provinces in China, but also it has a vast area of sea and oceans.
The Southern Sea.
Yeah, it had South China Sea. The size of its ocean, the area is larger. I think it's more than 50 times larger than the land area that the island has. So when it comes to pushing Hainan into that position of being a national ecological civilization pilot zones for a reason, because it's more vulnerable in this sense and also has more demonstration value when it comes to not only protecting what's on the land but also what's in the sea.
Yeah, to put it into plain English, it sounds like for example, when major cities up north we're considering reducing air pollutions, when we're considering planting more trees and making the roads greener, what Hainan is worrying is how to protect the coral reefs, how to let less carbon dioxide enter the seawater so that the ecology inside seawater is better preserved. So I think, all of these drives to the same direction where Hainan is heading now in terms of how intensive of a policy, if not a ban that we're talking about now, is being enforced.
Yeah, and also, but speaking of all the bans, and I think it's also it's also a global trend that we're switching to new energy vehicles for our transportation. But I do also want to check on the gasoline car drivers. Yushan, you being self is one of them. when a province, a region, a large area of administration decide to put a ban on the sales of gasoline cars, and instead of just promoting them in the past, I think in Hainan it worked perfectly. They're promoting with different ways, but now they decided to put in a ban. What does it mean for gasoline cars drivers in this case?
Well, they have time to adjust, right? It's not an overnight policy. We said already that they've been talking about it since 2018, and now they've put an official deadline on it, which is 2030. We're here in 2026, which means you've got 4 years to transition to the new changes. So it's not forcing anyone to do anything. It's not forcing cars off the road right now. It just means that when 2030 comes, new gasoline cars will not be available for sale. And also, vehicles that are already registered, you can continue to drive it. You can continue to pass your inspections and legally operate it. It's just, the change is coming, but there's a long runway. There's a long grace period for people to get used to this.
Yeah, grace period put aside, but it's still a policy that kind of point out to a shift from directly restricting people's behavior to shaping future choices, meaning that this is out there and this is what's going on. Accept it or not, this is where we're heading. So as gas car driver, I guess I can't speak from the local gas car driver's perspective, but my biggest question will be, why does it have to be a ban? Of course, we allow for the next few years for it to be phased out and no gas car sales and all that. But still, why do we have to ban it?
But are you bothered by this?
I mean, it's sound like as if the gas car drivers are bearing the cost and they're to blame because several years ago they bought a gas car. But it's not their fault.
Yeah, I don't think the policy or the plan are directing them as shifting blames onto them, saying they are the ones who are responsible for a lot of things.
Yeah, it's not like, gas car drivers in Hainan are going to be publicly shamed.
No, I'm not talking about the shaming part. It's just, it feels like the whole system is not supporting them anymore in a few years ahead.
Yeah, but not supporting them anymore. It's not a support group. You know what I mean? It's not an emotional support group.
But imagine this. In the future, more EV cars, meaning less gas cars, and perhaps a lot of the gas station will be replaced, will be removed, erased, and become other facilities.
Yeah, that's
so I'll need to drive a few more 100 kilometers just to find a place to fill up the tank.
Yep, you got me on that one.
Right?
I can't argue with that.
So practically speaking, this is not supporting them.
Okay, here is my position, is that maybe that's what Hainan is trying to do by implementing this ban on the sales of gasoline cars. They're not only forcing the individual drivers to make a choice, they're forcing industries to make a transition. For example, gas station operators say, if they don't have this ban on their heads, they won't be necessarily thinking about transitioning their business. There will still be business. I can still sell gas on the market. People will still buy it because we still have a lot of gasoline cars on the roads. But if they are seeing somewhere in the future, these gas cars will be phased out. Someday, maybe 10, 20 years later, there will be zero gas cars on the roads in Hainan.
Yeah.
Then I need to make some changes.
Yeah, and that change might be really difficult on some families because imagine, and in fact, I can somehow relate to this because my grandfather owned a gas station. And that was
You
his...
have a lot of history, Steve.
Yeah, I used to hang out with him there. I remember he wouldn't let me do anything or touch anything. Don't touch the pumps. I got that sentence a lot. But the people who owned those businesses, right? Those owners, my grandfather owned a gas station for, I don't know, 30 years or more. And then he built a family based on that business. So for the owners of those fuel-related businesses or gas station owners on the island who have maybe built their entire lives around it, you are correct, are facing maybe a harsh reality coming soon.
I see, but I also see that as an opportunity. Is that when we are talking about the future of oil or gas, for instance, I think a lot of even the oil companies themselves are thinking about new industries coming out from as a byproduct of their oil refinery or their gas production. For example, in Hainan, when we are talking about new industries in Hainan, they're not only talking about new energy like electricity, like wind power or solar power. They're also talking about the possibility of hydrogen that can be one of the byproduct coming from oil and gas companies. And I think when it comes to, individual operators of these gas stations, maybe in the future, they don't need to solely rely on selling oil and gas, but also they can sell some bit of hydrogen, some bit of gas, some bit of this, some bit of that, sort of diversifying their businesses so that they can have a better foot stand when it comes to a green future on the island or on the whole world.
Adjust or fall behind. Also, I just thought about this. What if you own a car dealership on Hainan and you sell gas-powered cars? Well, starting with this news, maybe before, because people have been talking about it since 2018, but with this news, if I'm a Hainan resident and I know in 4 years, these changes are coming, I'm not buying a gas-powered car now. So what about the retailers who sell gas-powered cars now, or used cars or something, used gas-powered cars? What happens to their businesses?
Yeah, we were talking about this before the show, isn't it, Fei Fei? Like, what about secondhand gas cars? Can I still sell them? But then we're like, but people aren't dumb.
The market will shrink.
You want to sell it, there probably would be nobody wanting to buy one.
Yeah. So, but you are still allowed to sell your secondhand gas car on the market, and people are still allowed to buy it. It's just you can't bring new gas cars into the island from 2030. And another point I want to mention.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
As a tourist as well?
Yeah, you can.
You can still drive it.
You can drive it. You can sort of ship your gas cars from Beijing to Hainan, but you can only stay for a limited period of time.
Okay.
About a quarter, so 4 months, 120 days.
Yeah, but when it comes to new energy vehicles, they don't have these kind of restrictions on the time that you can stay on the island.
Oh, it's like your car gets a visa. Kind of. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you before.
But yeah, I do want to ask, it's sort of related to Steve's question, is that Hainan is like the only province right now in China to put this kind of ban on the sales of gas cars. What do you think about other provinces and regions in China? Are they likely to sort of follow suit and also implement a similar ban in the future somewhere?
Well, certainly, experts already suggest that Hainan's model may influence other regions here in China, including like South China's Guangdong province, and also in Eastern China, Shanghai will be a good place to start too. They've got massive resources in terms of EV technologies already. Well, also with high NEV penetration rates and mature charging networks there too. So yeah, of course, these places will be a good place to start. And Hainan's experience could offer valuable lessons to them, of course. But it may not be a model that every place can simply copy. Like we mentioned earlier, Hainan's geographical and weather, like meteorological advantages make it kind of the most suitable spot to test this out. It doesn't mean that everywhere else can just simply copy all that.
Yeah, the manageable size of the island itself, the transportation network is closed. The coordination costs are lower when you're building your charging infrastructure and things like that, and also implementing your policies. It's a lot easier to do there. So these conditions make it almost ideal to choose Hainan as a place to test this out. But just because Hainan's an ideal place doesn't necessarily mean that other regions around the country could replicate the success that Hainan might have from this.
Yeah, thinking about my hometown in Mongolia, We are one of the largest regions in China. And also we are really, really long. If you look at the map, we look like...
Oh, is it longer than taller?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
going
really-
across western to the eastern side of China.
Yeah, from my hometown, my home city, Chifeng, in the eastern side of Inner Mongolia, to say the capital city of the region, which is sort of in the middle of Inner Mongolia, we have to go make a transit in Beijing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in the past.
Oh.
And that's how big our region is. And I think and also the climate is very different. We're much colder. We have a much colder climate.
So do you see EV or similar policies in the future possibly adopted in Inner Mongolia too?
I don't think it would be practical.
They'd have to make some upgrades, maybe like battery performance stuff like that.
More charging poles.
When we were talking about
Every 10 meters.
on a grassland,
Oh,
you need to send like maintenance
my
people
goodness.
into the middle of nowhere to maintain those.
Right.
It'll be very difficult. And also when it comes to having minus 40-degree winters, and the ranges of a lot of batteries, at least on the market currently, are not able to power a drive on a full charge from my home city to the capital city even. And that's only like half of the length of Inner Mongolia.
But this is one of the things that I think is really cool about China and its policies is that region by region, place by place, whatever works for that specific place, you make policies that benefit the people and the system there. It doesn't necessarily mean you put that system all over the country because it might not work all over the country.
Yeah.
You've got different geographical
Economic conditions.
in economic conditions. You've got different needs from the people, different wants from the people. So it works in Hainan. Could it work in other southern regions? Probably, but we'll talk about that, I guess, at some point in the future.
Yeah, but at least for northern regions and provinces in China, we can still learn bits and bits from what happened on the ground in Hainan, since they are sort of one of the foremost when it comes to this either green transition, green development in transportation, in a lot of other sectors and industries. It's a pilot zone after all. So that's the whole purpose of setting up a pilot zone somewhere in the country. So we'll keep an eye. But also Hainan is a wonderful place, has very tropical climate, tropical cultures even, and that's how diverse China is. And we'll keep an eye on the development of the next chapter, maybe on the transition and each region could have in the future.